Hi there everyone, welcome to Fingers, Thumbs and Fits, and today, well, literally just received this in the post. Looking forward to showing you my second collection of warbands for Warhammer Underworlds. This time it's Revenant of the Realms, the Deth warbands. Now let's take a look at this. Firstly, we'll take a look at the back. What have we got in here? These are the 4 warbands that we get here. There's a nice collection of models here, I have to say. Firstly, up the top there, we've got the Headsman's Curse. Then we have the Crimson Court. And then we've got 2 here. We've got Canaan's Reapers and the Grimwatch. Now, I have to admit, I'm not so up on the current Age of Sigmar state of Undead, the Deth Grand Alliance. I think the ghosts are called Nighthaunts. These vampires are the Soulblight Gravelords. These skellies are the Osiarch Bone Reapers. And the ghouls, oh, I think they're the Flesh Eater Courts. Yes, so we have Nighthaunts, Soulblight Gravelords, Osiarch Bone Reapers, and Flesh Eater Courts. So let's take a look at what we're getting in the box then, shall we? Let's crack this one open. I've already opened the seal, so let's see what we get in here. Right, well, that'll be the cards. And here will be the warbands in 4 different colours. Right, so these look like the ghouls in khaki green plastic, which kind of fits their theme, I guess. Here's our vampires, the Soulblight Gravelords. Nice dark red. It's our Nighthaunts. In a sort of ethereal turquoise, which I wasn't expecting. And our Osiarch Bone Reapers in, well, bone. Now, I made a mistake with the last video, I will openly say, in that I didn't show what these models look like assembled. I'm not going to correct the last video because I'm going to do that tournament thing. And these 4 are also going to enter the tournament. But at the end of this video, I will actually show you what the models look like assembled. So I'm not going to make that mistake again. I know I still haven't got round to doing that tournament yet, but I will do. Let's look at these cards. What have we got in here? Oh yes, I keep forgetting that it comes in the envelope. That's the assembly instructions. We don't need to look at that just yet. Here are the character cards. Canaan, Gristlewell, Valbreak, the Royal Butcher, Master Talon, Knight's Herald, the Duke's Harriers, Wielder of the Blade, Scriptor of the Sentence, Bearer of the Block, Kenta. Is it Kenta, a Japanese wrestler? Anyway, Senna, Karu, Noam, Hakor, Prince Duval, Gorath, Velas. I love that model. I absolutely adore that model. I would have happily just received that model on its own. Maybe not for the price of the whole box, but yeah, I absolutely love this model. Ennius, Sharpener of the Blade, and Crack Marrow. That's a great name. That's very evocative. Crack Marrow. Yeah. Okay. So, there's our characters. Let's put these over here. Let's have a look at the... these are the English character cards. So we've got the Headsman's Curse. How to inspire. There's the sort of special rules, then special abilities. Again, Grimwatch, Crimson Court, and Canaan's Reapers. And then, yes, of course, here's the assembly instructions. Now we know what we're going to be getting with this, so yeah. So, to correct the mistake of the last video, I am going to put these together and I will show you what they all look like, along with their accompanying cards. So, I'll see you in a bit with the assembled models. Okay, so let's see these models assembled then. For the most part, the set didn't pose any trouble. One of the vampires, the assembly instructions weren't so clear. And one of the ghouls, I think, also, it wasn't quite clear really how to put it together properly. Aside from that, there were no real issues putting these together. The only issue I had really was that when it came to assembling these, my plastic glue, bottle of plastic glue applicator decided it was going to get all gummed up, so I had to remove it and pour it straight from the bottle. But aside from that, yeah, there's no real issues here. But let's take a look at the actual factions here now assembled. We're going to start with the Headsman's Curse, which is the Nighthaunt faction. We'll start with the leader here, who is the Wielder of the Blade. Now, this didn't look as big as it were in the assembly instructions, but that is a ghost wielding a massive sword, with a few little spectral bits at the base there. It's quite simple, you know, but it's quite effective. I mean, that's quite terrifying, to be honest with you. You saw that floating towards you, you know. I love the look that they're going with the Nighthaunt in Age of Sigmar. There's some very flavourful and characterful models, you know, I'd love to get to painting some of these up, but obviously, well, I'd love to say that for all of these, really. I mean, when we come to the Osiarch Bone Reapers later on, some of them are a bit intricate, but we'll look at that when we come to it. But yeah, I can't wait to paint some of these models up. But these factions are being entered into the tournament to see which one will get the paint first. So yeah. Plus, it'll be interesting to play Underworlds with different factions to see how they work. But yeah, anyways, that's the Wielder of the Blade. We then have the Sharpener of the Blade, who's a slightly smaller ghosty, and here he's rubbing a whetstone against a sword, which I believe in one of their special rules, if this guy is adjacent to another model, one of the once per game special abilities means that this guy can confer the Grievous ability onto that adjacent model's attacks. So that's pretty cool. We then have the Scriptor of the Sentence, who's a ghost with a quill and a massive scroll. This guy's thing is that he can make enemy models, they can have the condemned characteristic, which then means that other special rules will start working against them. So that's pretty cool. And here we have the Bearer of the Block, who I don't think has any special rules really, but I mean, again, you don't want to, that's quite a terrifying model. You don't want to be confronted with a ghost that's wielding a very, very real, I mean, looks like the base, no, it's not the base of an anvil. I've just realised it's the block from it's an executioner's block, because that's where you put your head. Wow, I've only just noticed that. I thought it was the base of an anvil, but it's not. It's an executioner's block. Wow. Okay, well that is very thematic. But yeah, I like these models. Like I say, I like the way that they've gone with the Nighthaunt in Age of Sigmar. you know, they're not just standard ghosties. Each type of unit is kind of, it has its own character, and they're all terrifying in their own right. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how I paint these ones up. But yeah, that's all I have to say for the Headsman's Curse. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, so now we move on to the Crimson Court, which is the faction representing the Soulblight Gravelords. We have here 4 vampires, headed by Prince Duval, who fancies himself a fencer by the looks of it. I mean, that's quite a cool pose. I mean, I'm not usually a fan of, you know, tactical rocks and stuff. And I put this together and I thought, this has got to be wrong, you know. You know, there's a massive gap there, and, you know, it doesn't look like it's fitting together properly. And then, focus, there we go. But even on the assembly instructions, there's a gap there. And, I mean, I still don't think that looks right. But, I mean, it is what it is. So, but yeah, this is a model that I haven't glued together fully. I think that shoulder, I've left that shoulder pad off. The rest of it is glued together, but it's just this shoulder pad here is separate, just because it's kind of over his, partially concealing his face. So it's just going to be a bit easier to paint. But yeah, there's Prince Duval. We then have my vampiric bride, Velas. I love this model. I really do. Yeah. That's a very striking model. I don't know what else we can really say about that. Tangle of hair, though. Again, no real problems putting this together. The reason that looks like it's bent out of shape a little bit is because I kind of started putting it together sort of in a bit of a wrong order. But, you know, nothing a little bit of plastic glue won't fix. But yeah, that one is fully assembled. We then have Gorath. This is another one I haven't glued together. I mean, his mace should come off, and his cloak as well. The back of his cloak, I think, should be able to come off, although it's quite a tight fit, so I'm not going to take it off right now. But I've push fit these again, just to kind of show you what they look like fully assembled. It's the same with the rest of them that I've left a few components unglued. But yeah, here we go. He's a vampire lord with a massive mace. I don't know how practical those horns sweeping up over his shoulders are. But also, I don't think I've stuck him down to his base either, because... oh no, I might have actually. I did want to be able to get up and under the model, but if I'm taking the cloak off, I can go in that way. So yeah, there's that's Gorath. And then we have the rather bestial looking Aeneas. Sort of, you know, he's kind of turning into a kind of bestial vampire there. He's also armed with a mace. Again, great pose. So looking at this, and when I'm sticking it together, seeing that shock of hair, I'm thinking, do you know what, I've got to resist the urge to paint him as a blonde Super Saiyan. But yeah, no, I like that. These guys don't really have sort of synergies with the models themselves as such. They have an ability where they can become savage, which gives them +1 move. They have various vampiric abilities that they can use as their once per turn ability, you know, including additional strength or healing after attacking. So yeah, you know, you got yourself a bunch of vampire lords, really. I mean, what is there more to say about that? They do look pretty awesome, and I've been wanting to get hold of these models for some time in Crimson Court, to be honest with you. I love the look of the Soulblight Gravelords. in Age of Sigmar, and do you know what? I'm very, very seriously tempted to get myself a Spearhead set. I really am. I do love them. They are fantastic. They've got a great character to them. The only problem I have is the official vampire hero. I don't like the bats in the hair. But, you know, we can always swap one of these guys out for it, maybe. I mean, okay, the official vampire hero is armed with a mace, so Gorath is probably the closest one to use. But, I mean, you know, we could use Duval or Velas, I guess, to represent the vampire. But anyway, that's a problem for future me. Right now, current me is going to move on to the next faction. And we now move on then to Kainan's Reapers, the Oziark Bone Reapers, who are a little bit more numerous. There's 6 models here. These guys, their ability requires Kainan or Kenta, so one of these two, to be on the board, which allows them then to kind of move the rest of them, providing they end adjacent to a friendly model. But yeah, reminds me of, what was that old Warhammer Fantasy spell that moved undead? Was it called Van Hell's Danse Macabre? There you go, right. Reminds me a little bit of that. But yes, let's take a look at these models anyway. So we have Kainan himself, big old monstrous skelly wrapped in skin cloaks and bones, and I think that's referred to as a Soul Reaper axe, I think, that weapon. That is also not glued on just yet, but yeah, that's pretty cool. Monstrous skeleton warlord. Then I guess Kenta is kind of the second in command. His it seems a bit loose. Oh no, it's just the haft. Okay. Yeah, Kenta, his Japanese wrestler. I mean, second in command. Holding a massive halberd. I mean, he looks like he should be kind of like an advisor or something. I mean, with the headgear and the sort of ornate armor. This is what I'm saying. I mean, if we can get close up, I mean, there's a lot of detail on these models. I mean, there's a lot of detail on all of them. But, you know, these are kind of, you've got quite intricate bone armor on these guys. So, I kind of am and I kind of not looking forward to painting them at the same time. That's why I've kind of stayed away from the majority of undead armies for quite some time, is I just didn't like the idea of painting hordes of skeletons, or zombies for that matter. But yeah, anyways, right, Noam, he's an archer. His arm holding the arrow is separate. I haven't glued that on. That's probably not going to be too much of an issue, but just to be sure, you know. But yeah, he's an archer. He's got himself a bow made out of bone, you know, some bone armor, some arrows. You know, he's got quite a sort of style to him. He looks pretty cool. We have, what's his name? Hakor. Hakor? Yeah. Again, the arms holding the sword are separate. You know, I haven't glued them on. But that's quite a cool model. I love the idea of this guy, you know, skeleton warrior wielding a massive blade. You don't see that very often. Maybe with the Games Workshop models back in the day, you had the Grave Guard, but they had halberds. Is it a Black Guard now in Age of Sigmar? Or am I making that up? The sort of elite skeleton warriors. As opposed to the Death Rattle, which are the standard guys. But yeah, all very cool so far. Karu. Now this one I wasn't quite sure about, because there, when I pushed that, that's as far as you can push that head together. So it makes me think he's wearing a mask, and because of the fact I can't do anything else with that, I'm going to paint him up as wearing a mask. Possibly sort of like make it look like it's a stone mask with that head behind it, sort of his skull, but we'll see. Anyways, he's got a kind of odd shield and a mace and, you know, all the armour and everything that goes with it. But yeah, that's the only issue I had with these guys, was this guy's head. So I'll see what I can do about that. We have Senna, kind of similar to Karu, except he's got a sword. Same sort of shield, you know, same sort of style, but he's got a sword. So yeah, there we go. There's the Canaan's Reapers. Very stylized, very detailed. Look pretty awesome, especially in bone-coloured plastic. I mean, even just now they look pretty cool. That is the right colour for these models, most definitely. But yeah, that just leaves the final faction now then. Representing the Flesh Eater Courts, we have the Grimwatch, as headed by Crackmarrow here. Now these guys, I don't really know how to describe these guys. They kind of, their ability is that, you know, once per round they can either inspire, if the leader, if Crackmarrow is on the board, then they can inspire a fighter or pick a slain fighter and resurrect them. Although if this warband is the underdog, then they can do both, which is insane. Especially as they have an ability that allows them to, you know, once per game, use the In the Name of the King, which is what that ability is called, twice in the round. So you can essentially inspire two fighters, if you're the underdog, inspire two fighters and raise two slain friendly models, which is just mad. But yeah, they have these delusions, which are kind of like almost chivalric in a way. It's Defenders of the Realm, the Royal Hunt, and To the Walls, which is interesting. It's the fact that they're called delusions as well, just makes me chuckle a little bit. But yeah, anyways, let's take a look at the models then, starting with Crackmarrow himself. He is a ghoulish, bearded ghoulish fellow holding a poleaxe. Do you call that halberd, or no, would you call that a poleaxe? I mean, is a halberd and a poleaxe different? I'd call that a poleaxe. A halberd, I think, is just slightly different, but you know, it's a double-handed bladed weapon. I don't quite know what he's pointing at, but he's probably sending the minions after them, and they're probably not going to be in for a good time. So yeah, that's quite a cool model, though. I do like him. He does have quite a bit of character. Well, again, they all do. But then we have, just the way I've laid them out, the Royal Butcher, who is a ghoul with two meat hooks as weapons, which is kind of quite terrifying. That's a bad idea for anyone. He seems to have various hooks sticking out of his body as well, I've just noticed. It's sort of like a loop up there. I mean, does he sleep on a hook? Do ghouls sleep? I mean, that's a question. Next, a model I wasn't expecting to see in here, but it does add a bit of colour and flavour to this warband, is these couple of bats, which are called the Duke's Harriers. So that's pretty cool. These are these little bats which can only be, you know, irritate other enemies on the board, as bats tend to do, if we go by video game bats anyway. They seem to be just sort of dragging this half of a body around with them, this carcass around with them, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, going down along the line next in, we have Master Talon, who is a ghoul that seems to be coveting an arm that he seems to have acquired from some poor unfortunate. They won't be getting that back anytime soon. And the Master Talon, I dare say, is off for a spot of lunch. We then have the Night Herald, who looks like he just wants a hug. How can you turn that sweet face down? Go on, give the Night Herald a hug. He's got a sort of Gene Stealer-like sort of carapace on his back, which is pretty cool. I'm all for that. There's a little bone attached to the back of his leg for some reason. But yeah. Remember, kids, hug your Night Heralds. We then have Valvik, who is, I don't know, they look like they're having some issues. Seem to have a head in one hand and a big pointy bone in the other. Yeah, I don't quite know what's going on here, but you probably want to stay away from this one. And then finally, last but not least, we have Gristlewell, who I love the name of. This is the model that gave me issues putting together, because for some strange reason, it wasn't clear on the assembly instructions, or just trying to slot it together, how these bits went together. And they kept sort of either not fitting or coming out looking very strange. So it took a bit of trial and error, but with a bit of effort we made it. So we have this guy is charging into battle with a massive bone club. I don't know where he got that bone from, but probably shouldn't mess with him if he's able to kind of, unless he found it. But yeah, that's you're probably going to hurt if you get hit with that. So yeah, that's the Grimwatch. Again, that's a great colour, sort of weird swampy green. You know, I like that. They're all the colours are very thematic. I mean, you've got that sort of ethereal turquoise for the Nighthaunt as well, and the deep red for the vampires. So yeah, great colours. Easily recognisable if you just, you know, you don't paint them and you just put them down on the board, which is what I'm going to be doing initially for the tournament. So yeah, don't know what else there is to say really. That was Revenants of the Realms. Great set, very, very glad I picked it up. And I'm going to look forward to seeing what they can do on the board and eventually getting around to painting them. So, I guess all that's left for me to say is thank you for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And until the next time, keep on adventuring. Catch you later.